The wedding gown was more expensive than my whole compensation for the year. However, when she said in my ear, in a whisper, "Remain away from him," I was aware that this wasn't simply about money. She had no idea, by the way, by night's end, everything would change, and I would be the one to go with her fiancé, a millionaire. Prior to us explore this incredible tale that transformed make sure you hit it since it's my entire existence. Click the subscribe button and press the alert bell. Believe me, you don't wish to overlook tales such as this one. And stay till the very end since I'm describing the 3 indicators that led me to he truly stood out from everyone else. I had met another wealthy man. My name is 2 years ago, Destiny. And I were just and further 28-year-old is attempting to enter Los Angeles. I had persevered through college. I endured a situation preparing for school, and gradually increased my company that organizes events for individuals. He was wealthier than anyone I'd ever seen in me existence. I didn't feel resentful. I was thankful. Every activity I organized meant groceries purchased, rent paid, and perhaps a bit more to send home to my mother in Atlanta. My rule was straightforward. Hold on to it. Expert. No matter how endearing the customer, regardless of the amount of money they flashed about, I had a task to complete. I had witnessed far too many women win hearts shattered by wealthy men who perceived them as brief amusement. It wasn't going to be me. However, life has occasionally outdated plans. A phone was the first thing that happened. Make a Tuesday M call. The voice on the other end was clear and expert and obviously accustomed to get what she desired. "This is Victoria, Miss Johnson, Whitmore. I need you to plan, and my fiancé and I are having an engagement party. Although money is not an object, it must be deal." Whitmore, Victoria, I knew, that name. The old money trust fund, sort of lady who had never had a day's labor throughout her life. Yet she always seemed to look as though she had just stepped out of a magazine cover. Cameron Wright was her fiancé, the millionaire technologist who has constructed his empire from nothing to its current value, more than a few little nations. The celebration was scheduled for the next weekend. At Cameron's residence in Beverly Hills, when I'm referring to a $50 million mansion, palace that is larger than a little lodging. As I traversed those stone hallways figuring out where to put vendors, Andy couldn't stop thinking about the visitor flow, on how my life differed from the individuals who would be dancing in these spaces on the evening of the celebration. Everything was a deal. 200 visitors, all of them sparkling and beautiful, drinking expensive champagne more than most people made in a bottle a week. I was moving and in my element, through the throng while wearing a headset, verifying the caterer's presence at a middle, and the group was aware of their cues. I first saw him at that time. Cameron Wright was not at all what I had anticipated. From periodicals and news reports, I'd imagined a calculating, frigid, perhaps a bit cocky. However, when he approached me in the midst of jeopardy, his smile was the nicest I've ever seen. Observed. He responded, "You must be Destiny." He held out his hand. "Victoria informed me the brains behind all of this are you." He shook his hand while attempting to ignore how my heart skipped a beat. "It's just what I do, Mr. Cameron Wright," he said. "Additionally, from you are doing a lot more, from what I can tell, beyond your work." "This is amazing." The compliment wasn't what caught me off guard. Customers typically expressed kind things when they were content. The manner in which he spoke as like he truly cared about Theed worked hard. As if he thought I was more other than only hiring assistants. We spoke for perhaps 10 minutes. He inquired about my company, how I had begun, and what enjoyed organizing events. Not the typical banter you have with sellers, but genuine inquiries. I discovered who I was. Describing to him my desire to expose my and day own a venue, something I'd never previously shared with a client. Next, Victoria showed up. If Cameron had been warm, it was a winter morning in Victoria, gorgeous yet capable of cutting. She wrapped her arm around his with the gentle grace and possession that originates from years of experience. "Senator darling, Morrison is requesting you," she stated. Her grin was flawless and entirely phony. Her gaze briefly shifted to mine. Second, and I noticed an object there that made my tummy churn. "I'm certain Miss Johnson needs to take care of." Other visitors, I excused myself after taking the hint. Booty couldn't get rid of the sensation that there was a problem. Victoria was gorgeous, tall, blonde, and possessing the type of Fizi style that is both nice and affordable being supplies. However, she had an air of coldness, something that wasn't the kind, sincere man I just had a conversation. The celebration came to an end, without any problems, and I believe that was it. Another triumphant occasion, and a third-police customer. It's time to proceed to the following one. However, 3 days later, my phone rang. It's Cameron Wright, Destiny. 2 almost dropped the phone. Mr. Wright, is everything all right, Cameron? Did you at the gathering, anything happened? Heckled, and the noise produced something my chest is fluttering. Everything was a deal. In fact, that's the reason I'm calling. Another event is coming up for me, I want you to take care of it. Regarding, over the following few weeks, I was employed increasingly with Cameron, a non-profit launch party, business dinner, or extravaganza for his recently established charity. Every incident was impeccable, but more significantly, each one allowed us to converse for longer. I discovered that Cameron's wealth wasn't constant. He had been raised in an Ohio caravan park, born to a working single mother to keep food on the table, 3 jobstable. He had entered the IT field through a scholarship program and established his room at the college dorm. It hadn't been simple to succeed, and it hadn't tariff without making any sacrifices. Occasionally, I have the impression that I'm living someone else's life, he said to me one night as West stood on his Malibu's patio. Residence, seeing the sunset above the Pacific. We recently completed organizing a dinner gathering for a few Japanese piplinesters, and the majority of attendees had returned home. Everyone here, all these hopes, money, and it's not, who am I, who are you? I inquired. I was shocked by my own audacity. He glanced at me, then gave me a serious look, and eyes to change between us. Still working on it. That suddenly I realized I was in danger. Not due of his wealth. I had collaborated with many affluent customers without not experiencing anything. But because of that wealth and achievement, Cameron Wright was only a guy in search of his location on Earth. Additionally, for some reason, he appeared to believe that I may be involved in location. I wasn't naive, though. I was aware about Victoria, their engagement, regarding the life he was meant to lead constructing beside her. I thus kept stuff professional, despite the fact that my heart began to carrying out actions I'd explicitly instructed Itana to perform. The warning arrived just when it was most needed. Potential moment. I was in the ladies' room. Chamber during one of Victoria's subsequent things. This one at some exclusive country club where there was most likely a wait longer than my arm. I was empathetic. My lipstick as soon as Victoria entered. The click of her shoes on the marble like a countdown on the floor. We must talk, she murmured while seeing her mirror. In front of the mirror. Certainly. Is there a problem with the arrangement? She looked in my direction, and for the first minute I was able to see beneath the flawless exterior, Victoria. Whitmore felt frightened. Avoid from him, she said in a quiet and urgent. I am aware of your actions. Andy blinked, ordering you to stop. I'm sorry. What are you doing, Cameron? Observe him. The way he gazes at you has a trend with ladies who are similar to you. The comments were like a slap to the face. Booty maintained a neutral expression. I'm not sure what you mean. Don't act foolish. You're intelligent, attractive, and distinct from the females in his typical circle, but you're only here for a while. Becomes disinterested, leaves you, and goes on. With only a damaged heart and mind, and perhaps a lovely farewell present if you're fortunate. She moved in closer, and I saw a scent of her pricey perfume combine desperation with something else. I'm attempting to assist you, she went on. Take my counsel and spare yourself the heartache. And maintain professionalism. Having said that, she left the bathroom after sweeping out. I was looking in the mirror at myself. My hands were trembling, and I wasn't certain if it was out of rage or another emotion. However, Victoria wasn't totally. I was staring at Cameron, but I was mistaken otherwise, and perhaps he had been observing me as well. But her caution felt less akin to worry and more a danger. In the ensuing weeks, I began to take notice. How Victoria offered to show up whenever Cameron and I were conversing. How she would reroute discussions outside of me while we were in the same space. How she would make brief remarks on the assistance that was obviously aimed towards me, but I also wasn't an additional item. Cameron was withdrawing from her. It was subtly initially, a constriction around his eyes when she cut us off. He would glance at when she believed he wasn't making payments. Focus. However, it was present, and it was expanding. The tipping point occurred during a meeting to arrange their wedding, indeed, their nuptials. Victoria had engagement to organize the occasion of the century. An affair worth $2 million with 500 visitors as well as enough flowers to provide a year-long, modest floral store. The irony, I was aware that I was making plans. The man I was falling for's wedding, we were reviewing the seating arrangements, set up, in Cameron's home office. Victoria's remark on the staff table. It seems that she desired to ensure that the vendors had separate meals. From the visitors. It appears needless, Cameron said, raising his head from his computer. Destiny and her group put in as much effort as everyone else. They ought to be respected. Victoria's smile could have cut glass. Obviously, sweetheart. I simply believe it's crucial to keep suitable limits. Destiny, don't you agree? She said my name in a way that left I was eventually forced by the unpleasant taste in her tongue. Over the brink. In fact, I replied, concluding me. Folder for planning. I believe I must please excuse me from this project. They gazed at me. Cameron glanced perplexed, but Victoria looked triumphant. I don't believe I'm correct. Appropriate at this specific occasion, it went on. I'll provide a list of additional coordinates who would do a fantastic work. I had already reached the door when my name was called by Cameron. Hold on, Destiny. Can we have a private conversation? The face of Victoria became white. We have a caterer. Cameron, arriving in 20 minutes. He says they can wait. Remarked, keeping his gaze fixed on me. Minutes. Although Victoria left the room, she didn't buffer, giving me a glance that a forest fire has been started. What's actually happening? Cameron inquired after we were by themselves. I nearly said a lie. Nearly gave he made a formal excuse regarding difficulty in schedule or compromises. However, observing him, seeing sincere worry in his gaze, I was unable to accomplish it. Your fiancée cautioned me. Toy told you to stay away. She believes him. Attempting to rob you. Kamran was silent for a while. Are you? Like a live wire, the question hovered between us. Wire. I could have dismissed it with a joke. Could have joked that their way out of his league. Rather, I informed him of Fivy. Truth, I'm not sure. Perhaps most likely, however, it's irrelevant because you're getting married in 6 months. Furthermore, I'm not the type of lady who ends things amicably. Couples. What happens if we're not content? Silently, the words poured out. I heard them even though I didn't, and everything was altered by them. Cameron, what you mentioned, has been on my mind that evening on the patio regarding who I truly am, and I keep returning to the identical response. He moved in closer, and I could detect his perfume scent, could observe the gold flashes in his dark eyes. I meant happiest when we're together. Prior to me could react, before I had a chance to consider about all the factors that made this kissed me, which was a horrible idea. It was supple. And charming, and wholly incorrect, and utterly flawless at the same time. I was out of breath. When we parted ways, I can't, I said in a whisper. I know, he said. Stated. However, I needed to know if you sensed it also. I sensed it. I sensed it in every bodily cell, with each heartbeat of my heart, with each breath I took. However, sensing it and doing anything about it were two distinct things. I ought to leave, I exclaimed. He didn't move away, but he nodded. Will you consider it? What about us? I didn't answer, but I would, as we both knew. That I lay in bed at night, gazing at the ceiling, recording each and every second of the last few months. Cameron's grin when he noticed me. His listening style when I discussed my dreams. How he helped me believe that I had value. Beyond my work-related abilities, however, I also considered Victoria Scotian over the trends she discussed. regarding the actual potential that I was only the most recent in a long queue of females who had considered Cameron right, held them in high regard, and made the decision to conduct some study. What startled me. There were no rumors concerning Cameron and other females. No rumors of extramarital relationships or improper connections. Actually, the majority of the he was portrayed on social media as the ideal engaged, loyal to Victoria and dedicated their partnership, prepared to make a deal down. However, there was another factor. Victoria's family has a certain quality that it was not mentioned in the gossip pages. IT found it, although it took some searching. The Whitmore family's wealth had vanished, not simply faded, gone. Poor financial decisions, unsuccessful commercial endeavors, as well as a number of litigation had given them nothing but their reputation and identity. There was nothing in Victoria's trust money. The assets of the family were entangled in litigation fights, and she was up against the exact actual likelihood of being required to work for the first time in her life. She was alive. Her desperation now made sense. She married Cameron for more than merely affection. Her marriage to him was a survival tactic. I gave Cameron a call the next morning. I discovered anything, I stated without preamble, concerning Victoria regarding her family. A lengthy pause ensued. I am aware at last, he said. I've known, her, several months. The family attorney informed me when I inquired about arranging the prenuptial agreement. Victoria is unaware that you understand. So why? Because I believed it didn't matter. Perhaps I reasoned we could create something tangible with each other, even if for the wrong motives, it began. However, conversing with you over the last couple weeks, he yearned to be near you. I'm unable to, when I fall in love, I'll marry that person. Another person? My heart stopped beating. Cameron, I am aware of its complexity. I'm aware that Itzy can't pretend anymore, but it's messy. I'm in love with you, Destiny. The phrases I had been terrified to listen and to have hope, because I'm scared to believe. Additionally, now that they were hovering between us out there like a bridge, I have two options. Burn, I needed to decide. How about Victoria? I will inform her about the truth about everything. She is deserving off that much. Additionally, if she declines, okay, then let's handle it together, if you'd like. I shut my eyes, considering all the reasons why this was a terrible concept. The publicity, the social examination, the rumors regarding the billionaire was stolen by a black lady by his ideal white fiancés. It would be disorganized, intricate, and most likely unpleasant. However, I also considered the Cameron's gaze on me as he considered I wasn't observing. His recollection minor points I had made in passing, the way he gave me a sense of just where I was supposed to be. All right, I responded. Come on, let's do it. The discussion with things didn't go well. In Victoria, Cameron informed Melitor, following the shouting and the thrown champagne and the tears flute, claiming that he was idiot for discarding everything they'd constructed together for a brief encounter with Fatfail. She had vowed to destroy his reputation, to let everyone know that he was a liar and cheater. What did you say, her? I inquired. The reality. That I wasn't I never loved her, thus she was a cheater. As I ought to have. That I was an idiot, but not for what she believed, and that she could say anything she wanted. She wanted a narrative. However, I was not going to no longer live a lie. The split made then news, naturally. A tech billionaire makes a call off the wedding. According to the headlines, there was conjecture over the causes, murmurs concerning other ladies, rumors about monetary difficulties, but Cameron and I remained silent about our connection for months, allowing the rumor mill to proceed to other tales. When we get public at last, it was on our conditions. A peaceful meal at a place where we both were adored. Captured by a paparazzi who just so happened to be in the proper location. At the appropriate moment, the image displayed amidst by something on Cameron's phone, his hand resting over mine unfeedable. We were both gazing intently 80s. The response concerned what I'd anticipated. A few individuals were helpful, some were critical, while others were rude as hell, but Cameron never hesitated, never provided me with an excuse to question his dedication. I don't give a damn, he informed me one evening as worded really vile remarks about a gossip blog. I am aware of your identity and you understand what we have. That's all. Issues. After 6 months, he suggested not wearing a ring that is more expensive than the residences, away from the cameras or large groups of individuals. Just the two of you in Malibu's beach, observing that the sky turns pink as the sun sets. I know this isn't the life, she said, adding gold. You planned, he remarked, descending on, I know it's one knee in the sand. Intricate, disorganized, and most likely not the dreams you had as a child, little girl. But Destiny, I adore you. Johnson, I adore your fortitude and your generosity and your laughter. I adore how I want to be better than I am because of you. Are you going to wed me? Yes, of course, I said, not because he was wealthy. Of course, as he might provide me with items I'd never imagined, yet because he was the man who truly saw me and loved Muhat, he discovered. The modest wedding, just close friends and family. Victoria did arrive, of course, but she sent a card within. She had only scribbled 4 words. Congratulations, you were correct. I never did discover what she meant when she said thing, but I'd like to believe she at last understood that true love cannot be purchased, organized, or coerced. It just generally occurs when you're not looking for it with the most unexpected person. Regarding the 3 indicators I listed at first, the ones that demonstrated Cameron was unique. Here they are, affluent men I've met. First, I never felt obligated to him. Anything, each gift, each action. There were no conditions attached to any acts of compassion. Devoted, he never spent his funds to make me feel insignificant or reliant. Secondly, he actually cared about my dreams and objectives. He didn't attempt to alter me or transform me into a different person. He encouraged me company, acknowledged my accomplishments, and never gave me the impression that I had to decide between my job and him. Thirdly, he defended me when it was important. When Victoria attempted to discredit me, when the media expressed disapproval or connection, when his social network behind my back, he was continually whispering he never asked me to fight. He was always in my corner, only those conflicts. And that's how actually the warning was intended to keep me away, drew us closer together at times, the individuals attempting to defend their own interests, unintentionally reveal to you exactly what you must view. If you liketh this narrative, press the like button and subscription. For further drama in real life, tell me about it in the comments section below. Moment when a warning is truly assisted you in avoiding a gunshot or locating your blessing. I went over each and every remark, and I may include your tale in an upcoming video. Until then, keep in mind that you will be chosen by the appropriate person, not in spite of your identity, but because will you.